Hi, my friends. Today I want to present you a new story. Enjoy watching it.
The crystal clinked before the words cut. To Rosalie, my sister Felicity announced, her lips curling like a blade she polished for years. Our family's devoted dreamer, 34, single and still searching for her purpose. Truly inspiring. Laughter rippled down the long mahogany table. My father smirked behind his glass. My mother murmured something about late bloomers. The chandelier above us gleamed like 1,000 watchful eyes, and I wished, just for a moment, that the floor would open and swallow me whole. I smiled, but my throat burned. "That's kind of you, Felicity." My voice cracked on the last word. She leaned closer, her perfume sharp and cloying. "Don't take it so seriously, Rosie. We all know you're trying. That word hit harder than any slap. Because I was trying to rebuild my life after Aunt Marianne's death, after years of being invisible in my own family. The evening blurred into chatter and silverware clinks. When I escaped to the hallway for air, I heard her voice, low, confident, dangerous. "She'll never see it coming," Felicity whispered into her phone. "Once the villa's in my name, it's over. I'll finally have something worth selling." I froze. The villa? Aunt Marianne's coastal home, her sanctuary, the place she'd left me in her will. The sound of Felicity's laughter drifted down the hall, light and poisonous. My chest tightened until I could barely breathe. I looked at my reflection in the gilt mirror, red eyes, trembling lips, but a spark, small, stubborn, ignited behind the tears. That night, as rain streaked my window and thunder rolled somewhere beyond the city, I whispered to myself, never again. They thought I was weak. They thought humiliation would break me. They were wrong. And soon Felicity would learn just how wrong. The envelope arrived on a gray Tuesday, tucked among bills and advertisements. My name was printed neatly in the corner, my full name, Rosalie A. Carrington. Something about it made my stomach twist. Inside was a property transfer notice, stamped, sealed, and signed. My signature, except I had never signed it. My fingers trembled as I traced the ink. It was perfect, too perfect. Even the small flourish on the R, the one I'd only used when exhausted, was there. Whoever did this had studied me closely. I rushed to my lawyer, Mr. Kane, an old friend of Aunt Marianne's. His calm eyes scanned the document before he looked up sharply. "Rosalie, this signature is copied from an older file. Someone had access to your estate papers." I swallowed hard. Only Felicity had the password. I had trusted her with everything. He sighed. "Then you'll need to stop trusting her now. This isn't just forgery, it's theft." That word shattered something inside me. Theft. My aunt's villa, the last place where I'd felt loved, was slipping away under the stroke of a stolen pen. That night, I pulled out Aunt Marianne's old journals, her notes about the villa she called a home for truth. Her handwriting blurred as tears fell onto the pages. "Why, Felicity?" I whispered to the empty room. I wasn't humiliating me enough. The wind rattled the windows, and in that hollow silence, something hardened in me. I wiped my face, straightened the papers, and opened my laptop. If Felicity wanted war, I'd give her one. But I'd fight it my way, quiet, patient, and devastating. The next morning, I called Felicity and told her we needed to meet at Aunt Marianne's villa. I was done hiding. The villa looked untouched by time. Its white walls gleaming against the restless sea, waves whispering secrets below the cliff. I hadn't been here since Aunt Marianne's funeral. Walking through the doorway felt like stepping into her embrace and her absence all at once. I'd invited Felicity under the pretense of resolving the misunderstanding. She arrived in her crimson sports car, heels clicking across the stone path, sunglasses hiding the smugness I knew too well. "Rosie," she sang, spreading her arms. "Finally decided to be reasonable?" I smiled faintly, something like that. My phone, hidden in my coat pocket, was already recording. We sat in the sunroom where Aunt Marianne once painted sunsets. I slid the forged transfer across the table. "You must have worked hard to make it look this real." Her laugh was light, careless. "Please, Rosie, don't start that again. You signed it yourself." I tilted my head. "Did I?" She sighed impatiently, flipping her hair. "You don't even care about this place. I need it more than you do. I'm drowning in debt, okay? You'd be heartless not to help your own sister." There it was, the crack in her mask. Every word was being captured by my phone. My pulse thudded in my ears, but my face remained calm. When she finally left, tossing me a fake smile, I stood at the edge of the balcony, watching the sea churn below. The same sea Aunt Marianne once said never keeps secrets. Tears blurred the horizon. You were right, Auntie, I whispered. The truth always surfaces. That night, I sent the recording to Mr. Kane. The tide had turned. But I didn't know that Felicity, cornered by fear, was already planning something far darker than lies. The rain was relentless that night, drumming against my windshield as I drove home from Mr. Kane's office. He'd listened to the recording, his voice calm but grave. This is enough to stop her, he'd said. But Rosalie, be careful. People don't surrender quietly when they're desperate. His words clung to me like mist. I tried to shake off the unease, telling myself Felicity wouldn't dare do anything reckless. But then she'd already crossed every line of decency. What was one more? I was halfway down the coastal road when the world tilted. The brake pedal sank uselessly beneath my foot. Panic surged. Come on, come on. I slammed it again, harder, my heart hammering in my chest. The tires screeched, the car fishtailed, then crashed through the guardrail. Metal screamed, sparks flashed. The ocean loomed below. By some miracle, the car caught on a jut of rock, hanging like a pendulum between life and death. I scrambled out, crawling onto the wet asphalt, shaking so hard I could barely breathe. The mechanic later said my brake hoses had been cut clean through. Someone wanted you to die, he said softly. I didn't answer, I didn't need to. The next day, Felicity posted a smiling photo online, wine glass in hand, captioned, "Some people can't handle pressure. Glad I can." My stomach turned. Tears came not from fear but from grief. How had my own sister fallen this far? I wiped them away, standing taller. You tried to erase me, I whispered, but I'm still here. I sent every file, every piece of evidence to the authorities. The game was over. But before justice arrived, I would face her, one last time, in the same room where her cruelty began. The dining room was the same as before, polished crystal, warm light, false smiles. Only this time I wasn't the one trembling. Felicity lifted her glass. To family, she said sweetly, her eyes daring me to flinch. I didn't. To truth, I replied. I placed my phone on the table and pressed play. Her voice filled the room, cold, unmistakable. Yes, I forged your signature because I need our aunt's house much more. I will sell it and pay off my huge gambling debts. It's just business, Rosie. The color drained from her face. My father's hand froze mid-air. My mother whispered, Felicity, what did you do? Before she could speak, a knock echoed. 2 officers entered, followed by Mr. Kane. Felicity Carrington, he said evenly, you are under arrest for forgery and attempted fraud, as well as for attempting to murder his sister. She shot up, screaming, you set me up. I rose slowly, meeting her shaking eyes. No, I said softly. You buried yourself. I just handed you the shovel. The room fell silent except for her sobs as the officers led her away. My mother's tears spilled. My father looked down in shame. I turned toward the window, where rain shimmered against the glass. You taught me to survive humiliation, I whispered. I turned it into power. Justice had spoken, but forgiveness, that would take far longer to find.
Friends, what do you think of this story? Write your opinion in the comments. Would you like more stories? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button so you don't miss any videos. See you tomorrow.